Welcome to Contemporary Black Voices, where we discuss issues and their implications for the Black community. My name is Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell, and seated with me are three gentlemen who are oftentimes called my brothers. Caleb Alexander, who is a New York Times bestseller, Fred Williams, an author, screenwriter, and former professor, and Chris Dawkins, who is a community activist and entrepreneur. Today's topic deals with Project 2025. Project 2025 is a plan or a presidential transition project to reshape the executive branch of the United States federal government in the event of a Republican victory in the 2024 United States presidential election. The mission is to dismantle the federal government and replace it with a vision closer to Donald Trump's own. The goal is to avoid the pitfalls of Trump's first years in office when the Republican president's team were ill prepared. One Twitter writer described the project as a Republican's guide to destroy our democracy and replace it with authoritarian Christ fascism. So, what are the implications of this project and political playbook for African Americans? So, Chris, did you get a chance to read the document?
If they haven't looked at the 2025 plan, you better ask somebody.
Yeah, I read the part, the training part.
Okay.
They're training these folks with propaganda.
In advance.
In advance propaganda. So they'll be ready to push the Trump authoritarian mission as soon as they take office. And the idea is to kick out the bureaucrats who've been there. Like take the Department of Education. You have folks who've been there for years and understand the need out here for education. They'll get rid of all those people.
And the Constitution.
Well, they can't get rid of the Constitution.
They'll just disregard it.
They'll disregard it.
Yeah.
You look at education, what they're going to want to do is they're going to try to push as many responsibilities to the states. And in the Department of Education, one of the reasons why it was set up was to kind of be the caretaker for those learners who did not have a specific program in place, such as special education, for example, Title I, Title IX, all those different titles. And if they get rid of that, especially when you look at special education, are those kids going to have the protections that they need to have equal education? And I say no. So they're looking at that. In fact, a lot of teachers are resigning today because they don't have the protections that they need to do the jobs that they have.
But let me ask you a question, Doctor. You talked about them wanting to push things to the state. This 2025 plan was written before this election that just happened this past Tuesday. This past Tuesday showed, I think, Republicans that the majority of Americans, especially where you had voting in those states, totally disregarded what the Republicans were trying to do. So how do you think that affects the 2025 plan?
Well, according to my reading, Donald Trump has already said that if he's elected on his inauguration day, they're going to probably go ahead and enact the Insurrectionist Act.
A what?
The Insurrectionist Act.
That's what he said.
And what was his thing put in the 30s, I think? And trying to quell any protests against what they want to do.
So that they would consider that an insurrection and go after it. But you know,
And they're endorsing it and saying they would do it.
right. But I don't know who's really endorsing this plan. Is it?
Well, you have their think tanks are pushing out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but think tanks. That's a nice, cute word for propaganda machines.
Okay. I'll go with that.
Propaganda machines. That's all they are. And I don't. Huh?
And
I don't think that at this point, I'm not yet willing to say that the Republican Party is going to, the generals, everyone else that have to fall in line for this movement are going to buy it. I'm not convinced of that.
Let me say this. By the time you get convinced, they will have already affected you.
You're not calling me. What'd you call me last week?
And there we go. We're off.
I've been elevated. I'm no longer Dennis the Menace.
No, let me. So just if you know, just jump in here. When I first took a look at it, I remember back to the first days of the Trump administration. They were laughed at because they were saying they didn't know how to turn on the lights in the White House. You remember that?
Yep.
And so when I looked at the plan, I thought it was something to correct that. I was like, you know what I mean? So they won't be embarrassed the next time. They'll know where the lights are. And so, but when I start doing a deeper dive into it, and I wasn't familiar with it until you guys had brought it up. And when I start doing some research on it, I realized just how nefarious this thing is. Mm-hmm. And so these people are and it's the Heritage Foundation that's behind it. So not
the
just
propaganda machine.
Yeah. So, but Heritage used to have some credibility back in the day, but
a long time ago.
They completely lost all credibility.
Yeah.
But no, you have the people that rotate in and out and around the Heritage Foundation that are really pushing this. And so this plan is it's a lot more dangerous than I initially thought it was.
And how do you? Let's bring it back to us.
Mm-hmm.
How dangerous is it for us as Black people?
Well, I tell you what. Let me talk about the danger.
Okay.
So no. So they do want to invoke the Insurrectionist Act, and along with that, they want to be able to prosecute who they deem basically enemies of the state. Mm-hmm. And so they want to go after Joe Biden is his lead. Joe Biden and his family, or some of the people that he's named as his targets.
Hillary,
Mark Milley, John Kelly, pretty much everyone who is who upheld the law. And so history. When you look at governments and the political structures of governments, one of the structures that they of governments they like to call revisionist governments, right? And so, say for instance, Putin's government is considered a revisionist government because they want to rewrite history. Mm-hmm. They say Hitler's government was a revisionist government because it sought to rewrite history. This government that they're going to put in place is a government that wants to rewrite history.
Yeah.
And so, what they're trying to do with this is, in rewriting history, the people who voted for Biden are going to be the insurrectionists. The people who upheld the law, like Mike Pence, that's the coup. And that's how they're trying to rewrite history. The people who upheld the law are the ones who staged the coup, whereas the people who stormed the Capitol are the patriots.
They're the heroes.
They're the
Let
heroes.
me ask this to all my colleagues. You know, I believe that what the Republicans in Congress did not do and how they supported Trump and Republicanism, okay, is a result of these people going even further. Mm-hmm. They never were reprimanded for what they did. Yeah. Trump does not call those people who were insurrectionists who've been jailed, he does not call them insurrectionists. Mm-hmm. He calls them, I think, what's he call them? Patriots? No, he doesn't call them patriots. He calls them, they're kind of like prisoners or something that.
Oh, well, you got like political prisoners?
Yeah, more like a political prisoner. Mm-hmm. So these are the problems that we have is because our government, and that's what I would have to say, including the Republicans, failed to take action against people who did things against our government. And by not doing anything, we've got things like this Project 2025.
They did take action. They're taking action right now.
I think what Chris is saying is they didn't take strong enough action. There should have been a bunch of people a bunch of Republicans that should have been expelled. And not only expelled, but prosecuted. People who were in the House.
Wait, hold. Okay, who?
General
Gates for one.
What's that general guy?
Marjorie Taylor Greene for another one. I mean, you had people who were live tweeting the House's location while people were storming the House. And so those people should have been persecuted. You had the guy that gave them the thumbs up and the whatever his name is,
Holly.
Holly.
Holly
So
from
I mean,
Missouri.
they had a lot of. Was he the one that staged gave the insurrectionists a tour right before the insurrection? They were giving people tours
This
and
is
showing them this person's office is here, this person's office is here, this is where we gather. So I mean, there are a lot of people in Republicans there in the House that should have been
That's correct.
prosecuted.
You know, and something else in this plan, if you look at their, I forgot which department, it's Veteran Affairs or somewhere in that department, they're even looking at time frames from things. You have an objective that has to be met, and it has to be met within a certain time frame. If not, then they've got plans in place to get rid of you. So if you look at downsizing, they want to downsize. You know, let's just go back. A lot of the Republicans did not want to. They wanted to shut down the government. Okay, so how does that affect Black folks? A lot of Black people are employees of the federal government. If there's a shutdown, and we've already seen how long it takes for them to make up their minds to do something, a whole lot of Black folks can be out with no jobs for a long period of time. And so built into that plan is a reduction in force statement.
Also, red lights go off for me when you talk about states returning things to states. Because historically, when power was given to the states, we suffered. We suffered
Absolutely.
big time. And that's, you know, it reminds me of Reagan doing his opening campaign speech in Philadelphia, Mississippi, which was telling them, was called a dog whistle.
Very symbolic.
Symbolic, yeah, that I'm going to give the power back to you that's been taken away from you by the Civil Rights Bill of 64, the Voting Rights Bill of 65, and therefore you can take control again. And we see that happening. So maybe there's a tie-in between this thing, the project,
2025 project.
and what you see happening in the different states.
And you know, every federal government department will be impacted. Department of Human Services, Veterans Affairs, Education, Environmental Studies, all those departments they've got essays written on how they're going to manage those.
It's 1,000 pages.
manage those departments.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be ready because I think they want to enact all these things within 180 days. I think that was the time frame.
If
But
he
I
gets
wanna-
elected.
If he
Yeah.
gets
So
elected.
wait a minute. So we're about to go on a break, but what we're going to do is we're going to come back and continue this discussion on Project 2025. We'll be right back.